Hello. So next Tamers discussion for Digimon Tamers. This one is going to be about Kenta Kitagawa. He is kind of, he's one of Takato's friends. Him and Kazu are kind of pretty much almost always together. So some of the stuff I'm going to be going over is like, well, I just went over this with Kazu, but I went over this with Kazu the other week, but the two of them are around each other a lot since they're basically best friends. For some reason, I thought I saw something listed somewhere that they were like related, but I don't believe that that's correct. But Kenta is 10 years old in the Japanese, 12 years old in the English. He's in the same class as Takato. They've known each other for a long time. Him and Kazu and Takato, they play, the Digimon card game card game together a whole lot and such. And Kenta tends to be the less skilled out of them, always getting beaten by either Takato or Kazu. And Kenta is the less confident of the group. Kazu is a lot more confident and rambunctious to a degree. Obnoxious would also be another word for Kazu. But Kenta is a bit more timid and such. But he does. They make jokes a whole lot and everything. And so we get to see a lot of that and everything. He also really likes karaoke, but he has a very, very bad voice. His voice is atrocious. Yeah. And his Digimon is MarineAngemon. MarineAngemon is a Mega level Digimon. And is pretty much constantly in that form. MarineAngemon is adorable. He's tiny, and he has like a little holy ring collar around his neck that he wears. And he's very, pacifistic, non-violent, that type of a thing. And doesn't really use his attacks for, to cause damage. He mostly uses them to heal or to purify and such. And that's what his Kahuna Waves or Ocean Love, to a degree, depending on the translation, tends to do. And can also be used as like a protection type of a thing, as I'll go over later on in the video. And we never see any of the other evolutions for MarineAngemon since he's so tiny. He's pretty compact and, easily portable. But moving into the the history of the characters. So Kenta is seen in the first episode with Takato and Kazu playing the Digimon card game and everything. And just through the first parts of the first several episodes of the series, we see Kazu and Kenta pretty much around each other all the time. They're around Takato, of course, in class. They have fun together, and then of course they don't believe Takato when he says, "Oh, I had a dream about a Digimon," and then like, "Oh, I found a Digimon," but they don't believe him. And when they try to see, when Takato tries to show them Gilmon, of course they get scared and they run off. And it takes a little while for them to believe that Gilmon and that Digimon are real, and then eventually they are there when Gilmon digivolves into War Graumon for the first time. And they're very amazed by this, along with like Jerry and some of their other classmates and such. And they continuously help Takato with having Gilmon around. They end up, Kazu and Kenta, end up, they kind of have Takato introduce Gilmon to like some more kids in their class. So we have like that interaction there. They're very encouraging in regards to, Takato and Rika and Henry in regards to them being tamers and such. But of course, Kazu and Kenta and Jerry, of course, all long to become tamers. And they want to find their partner Digimon. And what ends up happening is, throughout the course of the time frame, we, watch as these different things happen. Kenta helps with, sneaking Gilmon onto their bus when they go on their summer trip for the summer camp, and stuff like that. So we see that a lot when it comes to Kazu and Kenta. They're very much enablers in regards to, helping Takato bring Gilmon along, which I would put as a good type of enabling, depending on the context. And of course, then it rolls around for, they have to help deal, they're there and they witness, the battles with Vicaramon, the board Digimon and such, and the board Deva, and they watch all that, and they try to help Jerry protect Calamon from Makuramon, and unfortunately Makuramon still ends up taking Calamon and takes him into the digital world. And Kazu, Kenta is like, no, I'm gonna go with you guys. And him and Takato and Jerry and Kenta are, Kazu are, of course, they get, quote unquote detention for, misbehaving in class. And of course, they write the apology letters to Mrs. Saji, and she kind of freaks out about, where are you going and everything. So we get funny things about that. Well, done in a funny way, but it's obviously showing her concern about them and the fact that the kids actually really like their teacher. I'm trying to remember if we ever actually see Henry's teacher, but I don't remember. And of course, Kazu and Kenta. Kenta actually, like, he leaves a note by the coffee maker for his parents that tell them that he left for the digital world. I'm like, okay. Because Takato and Henry and Rika, like, straight up told their parents. Like, well, Henry told his dad and Susie, and Takato told his parents, and Rika and Renamon told, Rika's grandma and such. I don't remember if they told Rika's mom straight up or not, but, we see that. And apparently Jerry had Leomon talk to her dad, which I'm like, the giant lion with pants and no shirt and a sword is talking to me, telling me my daughter has to go to the digital world. Okay, then. Bring me one of those milkshakes that we serve at our bar. And, we they head off to the digital world because Kenta and Kazu are like, well, we want to find our Digimon, and we got a better chance of finding them if we go to the digital world. Technically, they're correct. And one of the first things they do when they get to the digital world, and I was saving this from when I talked about Kenta, because Kenta brings his camera and he has all of them like pose for different pictures when they're in the digital world when they first get there, and it's like these different group shots and everything. So that's just kind of funny that I like that they did that. The camera doesn't work quite right and everything, but it's just this funny stuff that they do. So it's just like, well, yeah, if I end up in the digital world, of course I'm taking pictures. Why wouldn't I do that? And what ends up happening is, while they're there, the different Digimon that they kind of encounter, Kazu and Kenta are like, well, maybe this one could be my partner, or maybe that one could be my partner. And during this time frame is when Rika and, Kazu and Kenta get separated from the rest of the group, and they end up meeting Digimon and Babamon. And I forgot to mention this when I was doing Kazu's video, but at one point, like, they're in like the bath at Digimon and Babamon's, and they're just like singing and having fun. And then that night they kind of have like a bad dream that they think that like Digimon and Babamon are gonna, like, I don't know, eat them. And like they end up overhearing Digimon and Babamon talk about like how they're so happy to have guests, and they're just like, oh, we misjudged them. We're sorry. And then, like, thank you for letting us stay with Digimon and Babamon. And then the next day they end up asking Digimon and Babamon if they want to be their partners. And, it ends up getting flipped where they end up having it be that Digimon and Babamon are kind of more acting like the Tamers, and Kazu and Kenta are like acting like the Digimon. And like, thinking about like what they could digivolve into. And then they have Kazu and Kenta like running around and like fighting each other until Rika shows up and kind of puts a stop to it, which is just kind of funny. Which is just really funny. I really like that bit. Because it's just like, yes, it's like Digimon and Babamon are not a threat. They're not being attacked. It's just like they got to stay with a nice old married Digimon couple that like to fight with their stick of broom and claw. So it's, we get that funny bit there. And that would have been funny, though, if that had worked out for them to be their partners, but that's not quite the way that it worked. And what ends up happening is, so we have that happen. And then eventually, they end up in the, this clockwork area where they meet Rio and Cyberdramon. And Kenta is very excited, of course, to see Rio. And it's just like, oh my god, you're the Digimon King and everything. And Kenta is as I said, he's less obnoxious than Kazu is, and he tends to pay a little bit more attention to what he says. And like, I think he actually slightly like, I think he slightly, well, not criticizes, but slightly like, oh, admonishes Kazu for like the fact that he was kind of riling Rika up and everything, and they clearly can see that that's a problem for Rika, that she doesn't like it when people bring up the fact that, oh, the only reason she's the Digimon queen is because Rio wasn't around anymore. And like Kenta kind of tries to like make Kazu stop, but Kazu of course doesn't listen. And then of course they're with Rio, and Rika went off on her own, and then they meet back up with like Takato and the rest of that group and everything, and then Rika is still off on her own. And during that time frame, they watch Rio be be an awesome tamer, which is true, and then they end up, finding their way back to Rika and everything. And like during the time frame when they were with Rika without the rest of the group, like Rika kept calling them useless because they were kind of being useless at times, with the way that they were acting. So, or not listening to what she said when she's clearly the one that has a little bit more experience in this regard. Wait by the flag. Why couldn't you just wait by the flag? And so we have that happen, and we have, eventually, they all get split up into different groups again, with like Takato, Henry, and Takato, Henry, and Terriermon getting separated off on their own, and then the rest of the group, minus Rio and Cyberdemon, who are off doing their own thing, get, sent into this more forested area. And this is where we have the interactions with, Angemon and, Orochimon and the Gekomon and everything. And where Jerry proves herself, and then where Kazu gets his Digimon, gets Gardramon as his Digimon. And it's, it's like Kazu is, Kenta is happy for his friend, but he's just like, no, I'm the only one that doesn't have a Digimon. And he's just like really sad about that, which I don't blame him. I would be sad too if like all the rest of you have a Digimon, where's mine? And what actually ends up happening is, because Takato and Henry and Terriermon got separated and Gilmon is with the group, Kenta and Gilmon he's like his temporary partner. It's just like he's not going to digivolve and he can't modify anything with him, but it's like, Gilmon's like protecting Kenta, of course, when they have to protect the rest of the group and everything and such. And like Kenta is like still very, cautious about stuff. And it's like, Gilmon's not going to hurt him or anything like that, but he's just like, go if you would, not a problem. It's like Gilmon's adorable in that regard. So we get like that interaction there. Which, reminds me of different times in like the Digimon, adventures time frame where like, the different Digidestin ended up with like, someone else's Digimon. And it's like, you can't really Digivolve in that regard, but, it's not like you're going to not get along with the other Digimon. So we see that. And then, of course, everything happens with, they get reunited, they fight against Beelzemon, they, meet the Sovereigns. They end up finding out about the D-Reaper. They end up seeing, Takato and Henry and Rika are all able to biomerge and everything. And, Kenta and Kazu had kind of like watched Jerry and everything after what had happened with Leomon. Unfortunately, on their watches when Jerry gets swapped out for the fake Jerry, but that's not really their fault. No, it's really not their fault. It's the D-Reaper's fault. Bad D-Reaper. And what ends up happening is, during this time frame is when Calamon, has agreed to help the Sovereigns and activates his, Shining Digivolution, which I'll go over when I talk about Calamon in his own video. But what ends up happening is all these different Mega Digimon start showing up, including Jijimon and Babamon, and then this little Digimon just like meteorites out of the sky and like lands in the ground by Kenta, and he like pulls the little Digimon out of the ground, and it's MarineAngemon, and he's like, well, you can't be a Mega, and it's just like, Rika's like, nope, MarineAngemon, Mega level. And like MarineAngemon just kind of like grabs onto Kenta's leg, like, mine. I love MarineAngemon. He is adorable. And he's just like, my human. And Kenta's like, no, like takes him off. It was just like, no, you have to go be with the other Digimon. And like MarineAngemon just looks sad when like Kenta walks off. And then during this time frame is when the Tamers end up finding about the Ark, and they get messages from Yamaki about that, and they end up going back to where the Ark's going to be, and they get on the Ark, and while they're on their way back, Kenta feels something weird in his pocket, and out pops a glowing Digivice, and then B, MarineAngemon, and that results in this funny scene.
Guys? A Digivice? Well, hello. Oh, wow. MarineAngemon. I get it. You're my tamer. My partner. And you're a mega. That makes me a tamer to a mega. Oh, I think I'm gonna faint.
She's like, oh my god, I'm a tamer to a mega, this is amazing, type of thing, and I just love that bit. And he's just like, he's very protective of MarineAngemon, not that he doesn't think MarineAngemon is strong, because he's like so happy that he has a Digimon now, but like, at one point, like, Kazu tries to like, look at him, and he's like, no, you'll scare him. So we get like those funny bits where you just see the way that Kenta is now interacting with MarineAngemon. And so we see that, so it's just like, it's kind of this initial thing where it's just like, MarineAngemon kind of was like, my human. And it's like, okay, so is the debate of like, did MarineAngemon choose to become Kenta's partner? Like, was there like this draw to Kenta that just like pulled him in? And like it just took a little bit for like the Digimon to, for the Digivice to like appear. What exactly happened with that? We don't know. We see like a Diginome pop up at some point around that time frame. So did was like MarineAngemon's wish to be with Kenta, and therefore the Diginome granted said wish for MarineAngemon? Because that's what the Diginomes do. They help grant wishes. So it's like this whole thing of just like, so... And like, MarineAngemon was in Kenta's pocket for how long? Like, did MarineAngemon, like, at some point when they're like all turned away talking to each other, like, just like find his way into Kenta's pocket and just like, I hide here. I will be quiet and hide in this pocket. I don't know what a pocket is. I don't know. Or like when they were like on their way back to where the Ark was, did it like hide and like follow them? I just want to know how this happened. But it's like that it was in Kenta's pocket somehow, and then popped out, and now Kenta's a tamer, which I just find hilarious. It's like big epic thing where like Gilmon hatches from the egg and Takato has to find him. Rika has this moment where she's like interacted with by all of these Digimon that are like, we want a tamer, and like she's just I just want one strong Digimon. Renamon appears. Henry, battling with Terriermon on the computer, and then Terriermon gets hurt and he ends up making Terriermon real in this much more emotional scene. Jerry chases Leomon around the park until like eventually kind of like he does agree to be her partner, and like that's proven, and then like all this other stuff happens, and it's just like, Kenta, well, he decided to hide in my pocket and we weren't sure how long he was there, but somehow he was there, and then he became my Digimon. Just like much less dramatic. So that's just funny there. I just like that. And so we have that, and they're all in the Ark, and they all get back to the human world, to the real world, where he's reunited with his parents and everything, and they're kind of admonishing him, and they're just like, but I brought back a Digimon, and he's tiny and adorable. He probably still eats like a truckload of food, but he's tiny and cute. Would be my answer to that. And during this time frame, the Tamers end up, they all go back to their homes and everything. And then eventually, it's like they see what's going on TV with the D Reaper. And, during this time, Kenta and then Kazu end up seeing what's going on. And they're like, okay, well, we have to go and help. And they head back to the city. And kind of the main thing that happens initially with Kazu, or with Kenta and MarineAngemon, is a few times we don't see Kazu and Kenta like attached at the hip, but they end up, it's during this time frame. It was like Takato gets pulled into the D Reaper for the first time, and where he's interacting with the fake Jerry, and Kazu Kenta shows up, and like MarineAngemon is there, and like him using his Kahuna waves at like the D Reaper agent that looks like Jerry just like freaks this D Reaper agent out to the point where it like runs away, and it's just like MarineAngemon is just like boo boo, and like just like heart bubbles are coming out. It's just like Kahuna waves, Kahuna waves, and it's just like so adorable. I just find that so adorable. And like, sends off the D Reaper. The D Reaper is just like, oh my god, it's cute and pink and has hearts. I must leave. It's basically what that kind of looked like to me when I was a kid and still kind of do. And like that runs off. And then during this time frame, Tsukuyamon shows up and, to help get Takato and, Kenta at this point now out. And being inside the D Reaper actually causes pain to some of the Digimon, particularly when they're biomerged. They can't stay in their biomerged state. But MarineAngemon is able to use like some of his Kahuna waves on Tsukuyamon to like heal them. So we get that adorable moment, and it's just like tiny little pink thing healing this much more golden armored Digimon, and I love that. And like MarineAngemon is able to kind of cause small amounts of damage to the D Reaper by attacking the agents, the smaller agents, and by using its Kahuna waves against pieces of the D Reaper. And during this time frame, they end up back at the Hypno's temporary headquarters. They end up getting more information. They find out that Jerry is inside of the D Reaper. That's where Beelzemon and Calamon ended up, and they want to help get Jerry back, and all this other stuff happens. And we don't see too much from Kazu and Kenta during this time frame. They do show up during the kind of final battle sequence, but some of it is more. They end up getting saved by Antilamon at one point in time, which is adorable. And MarineAngemon is, as stated, a Digimon of few words. Because it's like Kenta or Kazu and Gardramon are like arguing about something, and it just goes, those two, funny. And, Kenta's like, yeah, they are pretty funny, but we do need to get back to working on trying to fix things. Kenta, or Kazu, he says 2 words, you talk for hours, type of a thing. And it's just like, he's a Digimon of few words. And, so we get those adorable little moments there, where we see, Kenta and, MarineAngemon bonding, which is adorable. And then Kazu and Kenta actually kind of end up getting chased by the police at one point in time. I don't know exactly how they get out of that. Did their Digimon get them out of there? Did like Yamaki make a call to the police and say, no, those kids are fine. They're part of my group. Just leave them alone. They know what they're doing. Admittedly, they did save like another police officer in that regard by, destroying part of the D Reaper. That was on a rampage. And then during the time frame when Takato, Rika, Henry, and Rio are doing their big final battle against the D Reaper and everything to destroy the D Reaper and to save Jerry and everything, Kazu and Kenta and their Digimon and then Lopmon show up at like the end of the battle. And Lopmon's Kahuna waves can also produce like these giant hearts that the Digimon can be inside of, and the Tamers can be inside of, and they're not affected by what's going on around them. From the D Reaper. It acts as like a protection shield. And so they show up in that, and they put the rest of the Tamers into another bubble, so that way they're safe while they're still inside the D Reaper while it's regressing. And then after the D Reaper has, regressed back to, been destroyed and everything by Henry and the rest of the group, they're all in the park and everybody's happy. And then because we can't have anything nice, the Digimon start glowing and shrinking. Well, MarineAngemon starts glowing. Doesn't really shrink very much because he's already pretty small. But Henry's dad shows up and explains, it was either the world or the Digimon, and and I'm sorry, and all the Tamers are very sad to say goodbye to their Digimon, and they all send them off, back up into the portal, and Kenta gets to say goodbye to MarineAngemon, and of course, there's, we get them afterwards, and it's just like, we'll see each other again, and, the world kind of goes back to normal. As I said, we do know that they do end up coming back because, we have the Runaway Locomon movie, which takes place after everything in the rest of the series. Also at the end of the season, it's of course hinted that Takato finds a portal that can take them back to the digital world and they can get their Digimon again. And what ends up happening is, the little bits that we see for like Kenta and MarineAngemon aren't really too big in the movie. In Runaway Locomon, we see them at the beginning like they're out shopping, probably for gifts or supplies for Rika's party. And then, they show up and they try to help Henry get to where he can get to Locomon so he can try to, help Takato. And then, they're riding around in like this train car that like Gardermon is pushing around with Kazu and with Henry, and then Lopmon, because Lopmon and Terriermon got switched and they switched them back. And then they show up and they're witness to when Rika is possessed by Parasamon, and then when all the Parasamon start appearing out of the sky, Kahuta Waves is able to do enough damage to like destroy some of the different Parasamon. I'm assuming the Parasamon aren't very strong in these regards. They're just a lot of them. But then again, MarineAngemon is a mega, so yeah. And helps get rid of some of them and everything. And then of course we get Gallopmon shows up, is able to defeat all of them, in his Crimson mode and everything. And then we have Rika's birthday party afterwards, where we see MarineAngemon next to Kenta and everything, and having fun there. We don't really get too much else there. Again, at some point I will do more of an in-depth review of Digimon Runaway Locomon and Digimon Battle of Adventure, which we don't even see Kazu or Kenta in Digimon Battle of Adventure. So there's not really much there for that. So yeah, shorter video-ish here for Kazu, for Kenta, sorry. Next up will be, I believe I am going to do Ipmon with IE and Mako next, and then it would be Alice McCoy, and then Minami, Minami and Caesarmon would be the other two. And then after that, once I get done with the Tamers, I am going to do like Calamon's going to get his own discussion video. I'm sorry, the teacher is getting her own discussion video. I really like her. And then I am going to do more of discussion videos on like the different families for the different Tamers. And then of course, Yamaki and Hypnos and all of that stuff. We'll get different videos as well. So that's what I have for Kenta. I thank you very much for watching. MarineAngemon is just adorable. I'm sorry. I love that little relationship that they have there between the two of them. They're adorable and great together. So that's what I have. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye.